Hey guys, in this demo video here, I'm going to use AWS Systems Manager to install Apache on EC2 instances. There's going to be instances in the public subnet and 2 in the private subnet. And then for the private subnet, I'm going to deploy a NAT gateway for those EC2 instances so they can access Systems Manager. Let's take a look at the network diagram here to see what I'll be working with. So here's the network diagram. This is all going to take place here in the US East 1 region. I'm going to create a VPC, and then within that VPC, I'm going to have 2 subnets, a public and a private. And then for the EC2 instances, there will be 2 instances per subnet. Those instances will have a security group, which will allow SSH, HTTP, and ICMP. And the instances will also have an IAM role to allow it to use the Systems Manager services. Now, these instances will also have a tag. So that way, when I create a resource group for these instances, I can refer to the tags to group them accordingly. The public subnet will have a default route out to the internet gateway. And then for the private subnet, it will have a default route to the NAT gateway to the AWS public services. So in the AWS public services, we have Systems Manager. I will be using the Systems Manager documents to create some run commands, and those run commands will install the HTTPD Apache services onto the EC2 instance. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the AWS console, and let's get started. All right, here's the AWS console. Let's go ahead and create our VPC. All right, and this is going to be 10.0.0.0/24. And create VPC. Okay, and then I'll create an internet gateway for the VPC. I call it the VPCA-IGW. Create internet gateway, and then attached to the VPC, I'm going to associate with the VPCA. Attach internet gateway, done. Subnets, I'm going to create 2 subnets. VPCA is where these subnets are going to belong, and then the subnet is going to be called pub sub 1 and priv sub 1. So let's go ahead and name those accordingly. Pub sub 1, availability zone, doesn't matter, I'll just choose 1A. CIDR block, for the IPv4 subnet CIDR block, I'll choose 10.0.0.0/27. Create subnet, done. And then I'll create another subnet for the private, VPCA private-sub 1. Availability zone, choose 1A also. And for CIDR, 10.0.0.32/27. And hit create subnet. All right, so that's done. And then now we need to create route tables. So here I'll create a route table. This is going to be a public route table for the public subnet, pub-rt1, and this is going to be for VPCA, and I'll hit create route table. And then I'm going to associate the public subnet with the route table. Edit subnet association, choose a public subnet, save association. Great. And then now for the routes, I'm going to add a default route. Basically, I'm going to say default route for this subnet is going to point to the internet gateway, my 00 route. So here we go, add route, 00, internet gateway. I'll choose the one that I created, save changes. Great. And then now for the, let's create a route table for the private subnet. private route table, priv-rt1, VPC A, create route table. Subnet association, I'm going to associate the private subnet to the private route table. And there it is, done. Routes, edit routes, everything looks good. And then for the route table, I'm going to add a NAT gateway. So basically here I am, I'm over here and I want to have the default route for these private EC2 instances to point to the NAT gateway so they can have internet access. So I need to do that here. So I'll go to NAT gateway, create NAT gateway, and I'll say my dash NAT GW. Select subnet is going to be in the public subnet. Connectivity, select a connectivity type for the NAT gateway. It's going to be a public one. Allocate an elastic IP. Perfect. And then I will hit create NAT gateway. And there it is. It's in the pending state. Give it a second here. It takes a little bit of time. Pending. Notice the IP address assigned to it is in the public subnet space. 10.0.0.28 is in here, so that's why I have a connection here. 10.0.0.28. All right, so let's go back to the console, see if we're done. Pending, let's go ahead and refresh. Refresh again. Let's go ahead and create a route table. Let's go back to the route table for the private subnet. Click on here, edit route, add route 00, pointing to the NAT gateway. My NAT gateway, hit save changes. All right, let's go back to the NAT gateway to see if it's available. Refresh. All right, it's still trying to create the NAT gateway. Okay, in the meantime, while it's doing that, let's create the security group. Again, here for each of these subnet, I'm only going to use one security group. It'll be good for both of them. And I'll call it EC2-SG to allow SSH, HTTP, and ICMP. So let's go ahead and do that here. Let's go ahead and do that. So I want here security group, refresh. Okay, where's my security group? Create security group. All right, EC2-SG is my name for it. For VPC A, add rule inbound, I'm going to allow SSH. I'm going to allow HTTP. And then I'm going to allow ping temporarily from anywhere. All right, create security group, allow access to EC2 is the description, create security group. All right, security group is done. Let's go ahead and launch our EC2 instances. And this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create 2 EC2 instances for the public subnet and associate a key pair with it. I'll do the same for the private subnet. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go EC2, launch instance. And I need to give it a name. So this is the name I'm going to choose, ssm-pub-ec2. So let's go back and do that. All right, and then the AMI is going to be default here. And then for the instance type T2 micro key pair. I've already created a key pair earlier, so let's go ahead and use the same key pair, EC2-key pair. And then for network settings, I'm going to use VPCA, and public subnet is what these two EC2 instances is going to be deployed in. Enable public IPv4 so I can SSH into it. Select existing security group, the one I created earlier. And then here for advanced detail, I need to create an AMI, IAM instance profile for our EC2 instance to authenticate with Systems Manager. There's nothing here, so create a new IAM profile. And I'll hit create role. This is going to be an AWS service for our EC2 instance. I'll choose EC2 under the use case, and then I'll hit next. And then here, I'll type in SSM, Systems Manager. There's one here, but it's going to be deprecated here, so it wants us to use something else. For example, it says here, this policy will soon be deprecated. Please use the SSM Manage Instance Core policy. So that's what I'm going to use. And that one is SSM Manage Instance Core. Here we go. That's the one I want. And then I'll hit next. And then I'll call it my SSM dash role. All right. And then I will hit create role. All right, that's done. My SSM role is created. Go back to my EC2 instance, and then I'll choose my role that I created. I'll hit refresh for it to pop up. My SSM role, there it is. And then I want to choose 2 instances to deploy in this public subnet. Launch instance. All right, instance is launched. Let's check it out. I got 2 in there. All right, great. Let's go ahead and create 2 more instances for the private subnet. And then for the private EC2 instance, this is going to be the name for it here. And then I'm going to go back and give it that name. All right, and then AMI stays the same as default. T2 micro, default, key pair, EC2-key pair. Network settings, I'll choose VPCA. Subnet, private. And then I'll just enable public IPv4. Might as well do that. And then select existing security group. I'll choose EC2 security group. And for advanced details, I'm going to choose the AMI role, the IAM role here that I created. I'll choose 2 EC2 instances to launch in this private subnet. Launch instance. And there it is. Instances, refresh, and then I got 2, public and private. All right. Refresh this. Now the NAT gateway says it's available, so that's great. All right, so let's see here. What do we do next? So I got my EC2 launched already, security group created, IAM roles already created. I got my NAT gateway created already. At this point, let's SSH into our EC2 instance in the public subnet here. Let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, I need to pull the public IP of one of the EC2 instances into public subnet. I'll choose this one here. Okay, I'll copy that. Go back to my command line. And here I already have my EC2 key pair already. So let's go ahead and do that. SSH-I EC2 key pair, and then EC2-user at the public IP address. And okay, so let's do this. SSH. Oh. All right, I am in 10.0.0.8. Is that the server? There it is, 10.0.0.8. And I should have access to the internet. Let's see if I can ping out. Ping 8.8.8.8. And there it is. Because I can SSH into it, I should have access out to the internet. So that's good there. So right now, let's see if we have HTTP installed. So first of all, let's see if there's a folder there. So ls. Okay, so there's no www folder yet, so I know that the HTTP is not installed, so good. So cd boom boom. Okay, now let's get out of there. Come back in one more time real quick. All right, so that's on the first server. What about the second server? Let's see if I can get to the second server from the public IP. SSH -I EC2 key pair EC2 -user at, and that is the IP address, public IP address of the second EC2. Okay, let's. Okay, no www folder either. That's fine. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and create a resource group for our EC2 instance. So the resource group is going to allow us to consolidate the individual EC2 instances into a commonly named group. And that group is going to be referenced based on tags. So let's go ahead and do that. So go to the console here. And for this, I'm going to say resource and tags. Resources and tag. Resource groups and tag editors is what I want to choose. And then here, I'm going to create a resource group. The resource group is going to be tag based. Resource type is going to be EC2 instance. There it is. All right. Tag name. I'm going to choose name. And for this one, SSM public EC2. All right, so how do we get there? So let's go back into our EC2 instance really quick here. EC2. So if I click on the instances, here's the public instance. Now if I click on tags, this is the tag right here. Key is the name, value is the SSM pub EC2. So going back to the resource group here, you can see that it automatically displayed all of my available tags. So here's the tag, key is the name, and then all my available values. In this case, I have two options, the private or the public EC2 instance. And in this case, I'm going to call it, I chose the public EC2. And then if I click on this here, let's see, public EC2 instances. No, I don't want to export all four. Okay. Group name, I'll call it pub-ec2-group. Create group. Okay. Going back to my instance here, my two instances are 9.4 and 9e. 9.4 and 9e. What are these instances? Ah, okay, these must be my old EC2 instances. All right. Oops, EC2. 9.4 and 9e. 9e and 9.4. So this must not exist as well. Yep, the URL does not exist. Now this shows up because I did this lab earlier and I deleted the instance, but apparently it was still available in cache. So nothing to worry about there. So let's go ahead, and we created the resource group already, right? Here's the resource group name, pub ec2-group. I'm going to now create another resource group called priv ec2 group. Okay, another one so this time I'm going to create another resource group here. You know what, I'm going to go back and create a resource group with this name instead, just to keep everything nice and orderly with a network diagram. So go back here, saved resource groups. I'm going to delete this one actually. Delete. Okay, I deleted that. Let's create a new one again. Tag base, resource group. I'm going to choose EC2 instance, wherever it is, there it is. Name, and I'm going to choose public EC2. Okay, great. And then for the group name, I'm going to call it this, SSM pub -group, just to match with my network diagram here, SSM pub group right here. That's the resource group name. All right, so let's go back to the console, hit create group. Okay, I got the group there created. Now I'm going to create another group. I'm going to create another group called resource group EC2 instance, and this one's going to be called name. Optional tag on this one is going to be SSM priv EC2, and then I'll hit the group name for this one is going to be SSM priv group. SSM priv group. All right, go back to the console, create group. All right, and that's done there. And what are my two instances on the private EC2? So let's check it out. I have the instance ID ending in FB and 8F. FB and 8F, which is 8F's here and FB's here. 8F and FB. There should only be two instances. These actually don't exist. If I click on that, it'll say it does not exist. Let's go back again here. If I click on this, it doesn't exist. That's just my cache from my previous configuration, so no worries there. All right, so we got the resources group created already for the instances here, and then the instances here, right? So now we can say, that's already created. But first, let's try to SSH into the EC2 on the private subnet. So in order to do that, I need to go back to my console here. Let me clear this out. So from here, all right, so from here, I'm going to copy the key pair on this public server, and then from there I can SSH to the private server using that key pair. So let me do that. Where is the private IP address of the private subnet server? Let's go back and take a look. Instances, this guy here, 10.0.0.40. Yes. Okay, I'm in 10.0.0.40. So basically, now I'm in one of these. So I was here, I SSH into this guy here, and then from here I should be able to ping out to the internet from my private server through the NAT gateway. So let's test if I can do that. Ping 8.8.8.8, and I should be able to, and there it is. I have access to the internet from the EC2 instance in the private subnet. So that's good. ls cd/var ls. So there's no www folder. That's good to know because I'm going to install Apache, and then when Apache is installed, then we'll have the HTTP www folder and the index.html file. So let's go ahead and go back to the drawing. Let's see what we've done here. So I've already created the resource group. I created the so resources group is created. So now what we want to do is we want to utilize Systems Manager and then create the run commands using the Systems Manager's documents service. And what that does is we're going to run the documents service on these EC2 instances. All right, so that way it can install Apache for us automatically. So to do that, let's go back to the console here, and then I'm going to say Systems Manager. I'll click on this. All right, here's Systems Manager. Okay, so then under Systems Manager, under Change Management Tools, you want to choose Documents. And then here, these are all the available documents created by AWS. There's a bunch of them here that's already created for you. But in this case, I'm going to choose one that I'm going to create my own. So create document. It's going to be a command or a session document. I'm going to call it pub sub Apache. All right, and then target type, that's optional, document command. And then for format, I'm going to choose YAML. All right, and then for here, under here, I don't need to provide any of these parameters just to keep it simple. And then for the description, I'll just say pub EC2 Apache. All right, for the main steps, action. For the main steps, action, I'm just going to say not PowerShell because this is a Linux instance. So I'm just going to say AWS shell script. Name is going to be pub ec2 Apache install. Input commands. So here we're going to say sudo yum update -y. A few more commands here. Sudo yum install httpd -y. Okay, and then sudo systemctl start httpd.service. All right, and then another one, sudo systemctl enable http.service, and I need to add an e up here. All right, and then the last one I need to do is now I'm going to create a index.html file in the HTML directory, but I need to have a message for that file. Echo, this is message. This message is from public EC2, and then I'm going to point that to, direct that to /var/www/html/index.html. All right, so now I'm going to create document. All right, document created. So that's owned by me right there. That's my document. That's the first version here. I can clone this document. I can create a new version as well. So in this case, I'm going to, before I run it, I want to test something here. I want to go back into my instance, grab the public IP address of one of my public instances, copy, go into the browser, paste that in there, and choose HTTP. And nothing, okay? Okay, nothing's there, that's okay, because there's no HTTP Apache installed. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to go back into the Word document or into the documents here, and then I'm gonna say run command. Okay, for run command, I'm going to say target selection. I'm going to run this run command on my resource group that I created, and it's going to be the public resource group, and everything's good there. Let's check again here. So choose the resource group to run, SSM pub group, right? It's going to run on these two EC2 instances, right? Which are these two instances right here. Okay, so run it on those. Leave everything default there for now. Let's go ahead and hit run and see if we are successful or not. It says pending, and if I hit refresh, number of target is 2, right? Because we have 2 instances. Refresh. No commands executing. Command successfully sent. So let's check our server here. Okay, no www either. Let's go back into the console here. Hit refresh. I kept hitting refresh and there it is. Okay, it finally showed up. So we got two targets here. Success, it says EC2 internal. The first one is the .8 address and the .30. It looks good there. We can look at the output here, view output. Here's the output that it ran. Okay, great. So now let's go back into our instances. Go back into the instances. cd/var. There's our www folder. cd/www ls. This message is from public EC2 server. Okay, great. So now if I go back to the browser and if I copy the public IP address of this again, go back here, refresh, and there it is. This message is from the public EC2 server. So what document did is it installed HTTPD for me, and it created some files for me. So that's good to know there. So here we are. Sudo systemctl HTTPD status. Active and running. HTTP is active and running. Okay, great. So we deployed that into the public EC2 server. Let's check the other server. Let's check the other server here, which is this guy. Here's the public IP address. Let me just go ahead and put the IP in here on the browser. And if I hit refresh, it's the same thing, so that's good. All right, because they get the same message. Now, I'm going to go back into the Systems Manager and then go back into the Documents under Change Management Tools, owned by me. And then this one, I'm going to say clone document. Now I want to create a similar document but for my private EC2 instances. So I'll say clone document and I'll give it a name. I'll call it priv sub Apache. All right, it's going to be YAML, and then the name's going to be priv. And then everything's going to be the same here because I'm going to still install Apache, but this case I'm going to have a different message. I'm going to say private EC2 instance, and then I'll hit create document. And then there we have it. I have two documents. I have the public document, which I created first, and then the cloned document of that, but I changed a different name and different content. So if I hit on this, click on this, and if I hit content, you can see the content here for the private sub Apache document. So now I want to run this on the private EC2 instances. So let's go in there to make sure that Apache is not installed yet. So let's go back into the this guy here. Let's see here, SSH -I EC2. Oops. SSH -I EC2 use EC2-user at, where's the private IP address of the private instance? This guy 10.0.0.40. Go back to my command line or terminal. Okay, sudo systems ctl status httpd. HTTPD service could not be found. Okay, great. So let's go back into the Systems Manager, Documents, for the private EC2, and then let's run it for the private EC2 instances. Now we should be able to run it because we have the NAT gateway allowing access to the Systems Manager on the AWS public services. So let's go ahead and do that. Run command. I'm going to say run this using the resource group. My resource group is going to be SSM private group, which is good. It automatically chose that for me. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, it's pending. Refresh. This one's a lot quicker this time. There it is. Number of targets 2. There it is. AF and FB. Refresh again. And we have success. Okay, great. Success. There it is. So how do we make sure that the Apache is installed? So let's go back into the terminal. There it is. It's active now. And we can check the file here. We can say cd/var/www/html ls cat index.html. And now it says this message is from a private EC2. There it is. So that's pretty simple. And so that's what AWS Documents does for you. It allows you to deploy commands, automate commands into your EC2 instances, and that can be done under change management tools. There's also maintenance window stuff you could do, automation. It's just a bunch of stuff that AWS Manager offers you. So that is it. Let's go ahead and just let's just shut everything down. We have what we needed to do here. So let's go ahead and go back into the documents. And owned by me. Actually, I want to show you something really quick here for the public document. Let's say I want to edit this, right? I want to say create a new version. This is going to be a new version here. I'm gonna say description -v2. All right, and then I'll just hit create new version, but then I want to set this version as the default version, so I'll say create new version, and there it is, owned by me. And if I hit this public services here, if I go under versions, there's 1 and then there's 2, and 2 is the default because I chose that as the default. So there's a couple things you can do here with it. You can clone it, create new versions, set it as default. So now we're just going to delete this now. All right, and then I'm going to delete this one as well. Refresh. Owned by me. Okay, there's no more documents owned by me, so that's good. Go back into the resource group, resource and tags. I'm just gonna pretty much tear down everything that I created. Delete this. And then I'll just delete this one as well. All right, so that's done. And then for the EC2 instances, I want to terminate all these guys. That's all the traffic from these EC2 instances. But yeah, let's go ahead and just terminate these guys. All right, that's shutting down. So let's give it a second here. And then the security group, let's go ahead and get rid of the security groups. Only one security group, action, delete. It might not let me delete since the EC2 instance is currently being shut down. Let's try it though. Yeah, it's not letting me because there's 4 instances associated with the security group, so that's going to take some time. In the meantime, let's go back into the internet gateway, and I'm going to detach this internet gateway. Oops, and that's also being used right now. So give it some time again. All right, let's go ahead and see if the security group is done. Can we delete this yet? Action, delete. Yes. All right, security group is done. Let's go ahead and do the subnets. Refresh. All right, let's go ahead and disassociate the subnets out of here. Save. Okay, that's done. This one. Unassociate, save. Okay, that's done. So, can I delete this? And I'll go ahead and delete this. Okay, and then for the NAT gateway, actually for the route table, let's go ahead and edit the route table. Okay, route table is deleted already. And then what about the NAT gateway? Let's go ahead and delete NAT gateway. All right, that's deleting, perfect. Internet gateway, let's go ahead and detach. Oh, that's right. So I think there was an elastic IP that was allocated. Let's go ahead and say release elastic IP. Cannot be released. The following address cannot be deleted because the NAT gateway is currently being deleted. All right, so we're waiting on the NAT gateway. That's all right. We're waiting on the NAT gateway here. It's deleting. I'm going to pause this video real quick, wait for it to be deleted. All right, I'm back, and now it is deleted. That took about a minute. So let's go back to the elastic IP address, and release. Come on, refresh. Give it some time, I guess. Internet gateway, subnets. Let's delete these subnets. Private subnet, delete as well. All right, so that's done. And then route tables are deleted. Internet gateway is already detached, right? Detach. Okay, refresh. Delete. Okay, now what about the Elastic IP? Can we release that yet? Let's go ahead and refresh it again. Action, release Elastic IP. There it is, finally. All right, no more Elastic IP, so we don't want to be charged extra for that. So that's good to go. Security group is done. And VPC, just delete the VPC overall. All right, that's done. Let's look at the network diagram again. So here is the network diagram again. So essentially, I created EC2 instances in the public subnet, EC2 instances in the private subnet. I gave it security groups, and then I was able to SSH into the public EC2 instances, verify that Apache wasn't installed, and then I was able to SSH from the public to the private EC2 instances, verified Apache wasn't installed there. I created a NAT gateway so that the private EC2 instance can have access out to use the systems manager services. And then for the EC2 instances in both of these subnets, I associated them with an IAM role for it to authenticate when using the systems manager. And then I went ahead and create a resource group for these public EC2 instances, and then I created another resource group for the private EC2 instances, and then I use Systems Manager to create a run command documents that will allow me to automatically install Apache. So imagine if you had like 100 of these EC2 instances that all needed to have Apaches installed or any other applications installed. You can use the run commands and the SSM documents to do that, to save yourself time for efficiency. So that's the advantage of using Systems Manager node management tools. And so we did everything there, and then we were able to run the commands. We proved that we can have Apache installed in the public and the private EC2 instances. And then once we proved all that, we broke everything down, tore everything down, and we're back to normal. So there it is, guys. I hope that tutorial was helpful. I know I went very fast. I was trying to keep this pretty quick, and so I hope that was helpful for you guys, and I will be working on the next video shortly. Thank you.